4100. I'm also the Vice President of the Illinois Federation of Teachers. Back in December, when we started to hear and started learning more, a whole group of us in this community came together. And it was early December. We started talking about what could we do as a community to kind of help and support our institution during these incredibly trying times. If you recall, this was before the Board of Trustees meeting. There was concerns about layoffs as early as mid-January. We decided that we needed to rally a support around. That was the community conversation. About 30 or 40 people showed up in Sullivan Taylor's coffee house, and we stayed there for 2.5 hours. Thank you, Sullivan Taylor, for not closing on us that night. And we wanted to get together and kind of start saying, we as an institution, we as a community, we as students, we as faculty, we as staff at this institution want to support what's happening, and we want people to understand how great our institution is. And so over the weeks that came after that, we created and came up with the concept of Buy Into Western Illinois University. And the idea of Buy Into Western Illinois University is that we as a community buy into the idea of Western Illinois University. Ooh, I can't get that out. That we want to support this institution, and that's what sprung. The petition that you've seen. If you have not signed the petition, there are copies of the petition in the back. There's also cards for you to carry, to bring home, to bring to your neighbors, and ask them to sign. Because as of today, the online signatures are at over 3,800, and we are closing in on over 4,200 signatures on the petitions as well in terms of papers. 3,900 now. My goal tonight is to get this over. Our goal is to get this over 4,000 on here. So I'm going to ask you later tonight to make sure that you have texted, called, and emailed. Why we are sitting here, normally we say put phones away and turn them off. This is going to be different. Because today, we need to do this. We need to show to the state, to our university, to our community as a whole, how much we support, how much we buy into Western Illinois University, and how much we want it to survive and to succeed and to grow. Now, for those who know, the color of UPI is green. And I am always in a green tie, except for tonight. In fact, this is one of the first times I've ever worn a purple tie, although I've had it. And I'm buying it and wore it tonight because I am WIU. Who are you?
We are WIU.
We are
WIU.
We are
WIU.
We are
WIU.
We are
WIU.
We are
WIU.
We are
WIU.
We are
WIU.
We are. This event today is co-sponsored and developed and put together by the Democratic Women of McDonough County, Indivisible of Western Illinois. I like to refer to them as the Committee of 10, but they like to refer to themselves as the Retirees for Western Illinois University. This is a big group of people that have been working together to put this together. We know that tonight is a scary night. There are people who are sitting at home waiting for some bad news. Some tomorrow are going to wake up and they're going to find that they are okay. Others are going to find that their nightmare came true. We want them to know that we support them. We support our institution, and we're going to continue to fight for our institution. There is a fighter among us who is amazing. You know her, you have seen her, and that's Heather McMeekin. If you have been to the I Buy Into WIU Red Facebook page, you have seen the graphics there. That's all Heather. That is her time, her effort, and her energy devoted to her institution. She is, in fact, the founder and president of the Democratic Women of McDonough County. She is a co-component of Indivisible, and she is an employee, a civil servant at Western Illinois University. It gives me great honor to introduce Heather McMeekin.
All right. We are WIU, and I am WIU. And all of the people in here are WIU. And everybody living in this region is WIU whether they know it or not. Because we are interconnected. And our futures are deeply intertwined. And what affects WIU affects us all. Thank you all for being here tonight on this very important night for this community conversation. On this, the eve of what is sure to be a difficult and painful day for this community, we gather together in unity as we face the potential loss of yet more of our neighbors, friends, coworkers, and dedicated public servants and their families. As I was preparing my remarks I found my thoughts turning to all the other difficult days we faced at WIU over the decades since I began my journey here as a student in 1986. My parents had just lost our farm and family home to job loss and bankruptcy, and because of those and other circumstances, when I came to WIU, I had no support. I got dropped off, and that was it. I had never even visited a college campus other than an art class. And so I had no idea how to do college, no idea how to get to my classes, no idea how to do any of that. But WIU and its faculty, staff, and services taught me how to be a successful kid in college. Well, I thought of myself as a kid back then, but I guess maybe you didn't. WIU didn't just help me stay in school, though, but the diverse, comprehensive liberal arts education I received as an undergrad and graduate here greatly improved my life and gave me a flexible education that has served me well in the subsequent decades and over time, and has allowed me to move successfully through 3 completely separate careers on the same bachelor's degree I started with, and I'm about to go into the 4th. And WIU did help me enough that I wanted to give something back, and I hope in some small way over the years I managed to pay it forward to our students and our community. In the early 90s, I began working in this community as a paramedic right after college. I was also offered a Unit B teaching position in health sciences as a first aid EMS instructor. And as faculty, I experienced some bad days that I had no idea could be a part of my education and my teaching there. But they helped me garner some wisdom out of that experience to deal with the stress, sorrow, and uncertainty we've been all dealing with over the past several years. Decades ago, one late frigid night, I was the lead paramedic on a car versus train accident.
Oh my God.
As you can imagine, this was a very terrible scene. And if you think you can ever prepare yourself for what you're going to see when you walk up to a train versus car, I can assure you that you will not have any idea what you're going to see. Other college students witnessed that accident, so they were traumatized, and we needed to assign our staff to deal with them. And the train engineer also suffered a heart attack, so I had to have my partner go up there and deal with that. So our resources and people were stretched thin, and I was on my own with the young men hit by the train. I walked up there and I tried to prepare myself because I was only 22 or 23 at the time, and it was my first train accident, and I didn't expect to be in that position of being on my own, but circumstances just worked out that way. And it was apparent right away when I looked inside there was nothing I could do for either of these young people who moments before had bright futures ahead of them and plans and hopes and dreams. Sorry, I need to take a breath for just a minute because that stuff still bugs me. So I went about preparing, verifying the clinical signs of death. We managed the scene. We started cleaning it up. We made sure to get all the people to the hospital who we could help. Then the coroner brought back the remains back to the ambulance bay, and we set about the sad task of trying to ensure that the remains were put in the appropriate body bag to be sending those body bags back to their families. And I still remember clearly standing in the ambulance bay trying to get their IDs out of the blood-soaked wallets. And when I finally got the driver's license out of the driver, I wiped it off, and I saw the name, and he had been my first aid student the semester before. And I didn't recognize him. And, you know, in EMS, you're pretty tough people, but something on my face must have shown because I remember Dr. Rudas looking at me like, what is it? Because we're standing here amongst wreckage, but something was different this time, and it was that. And I looked over at the arm out of the other body bag, and it had the blue cast still on it that Doc Seifert and I had put on the weekend before on night shift. And that young man had shared all of his hopes and dreams, and he was going to be graduating and asking his girlfriend to marry him. Trains always win. They always win. That was my worst day as a WIU employee. 2 students who I cared about and had positive regard for needed to be shipped back home. So despite what comes tomorrow, I want to remind myself, most of all, that so long as our students, faculty, staff, and community members are safe, even as we reach out to provide support and comfort and aid where we can, while tomorrow is going to be a very bad day for this community, it is not likely to be that kind of bad day, right? I try to remind myself that people are laid off and lose jobs all the time in this community, and the vast majority of them do not have the support system we do. They don't have people holding services for their mental health, or have unions working hard to save them, or have local circulating petitions. Even facing the loss of my job, I have a lot more privilege than most who live in this community. And for that I am grateful, but I also want to make it clear that every job lost in this community represents a tragedy to that person, a hardship to their family, and a difficulty for our community. And we must all work a lot harder at job security for all, and that means having honest conversations about difficult topics. I have worked as a civil servant webmaster at WIU for over 10 years, my third career at WIU. And as I face the possibility that my name will be on that list tomorrow, I've had to remind myself that the only real security any of us will ever ultimately have isn't in our job titles or our job descriptions or what we do, nor our contracts, our facilities, or even our institutional leadership. True security and emotional safety lies in our ties to each other, to and between the members of our community. Our resilience comes from the strength of our friendships and our persistent curation of hope, even when it seems hard to come by. Yes, our facilities, programs, and reputation are all things that we urgently must support and advocate for, and explain to our citizens why we need those things and why they're worthy of protection. And we have to demand our legislators fund them at adequate levels. But make no mistake, it is the mental health of our community that is every bit a resource and font of resiliency, requiring our time, our attention, our support as much as any book, curriculum, higher value, building, or program. And that's what tonight is about. It's about reminding ourselves that the economic prosperity and growth of this community is deeply reliant upon the goodwill and emotional health of all those who live, work, study, and visit here. And we stand together, united in our desire to see WIU's promise and potential renewed. And let's get started. I'd like to introduce, once again, John Miller, President of University Professionals of Illinois, and I thank you for being here.
This is a community event. This is not the community against the institution. It's not the institution out there on their own accord, and that's what we wanted to show. So we wanted to show our institution that we are actually united together in a purpose to defend this great institution against decades of underfunding by the state. We'll get into all of that aspect towards the end. But we reached out to the university to come tonight. We want to hear from them. We want to encourage them to join us. This is a difficult challenge for them as well. President Thomas is actually in Springfield today fighting for the institution. So I'm turning now over to our interim provost, our associate provost. Oh, wow, I was Mark Mossman.
Thank you very much. My name is Mark Mossman. I'm the interim associate provost for undergraduate and graduate studies at Western, and Billy Clow wanted to be here tonight, but like me, Billy has childcare issues, and I apologize. I have many children, and thus I have a childcare issue at 5:30, so I'm going to have to leave early. I really can't top what Heather just said. I don't have prepared remarks. What I'll say will be probably a little weird and unclear. But I just want to just say very clear, as clearly as I can, that when we say we are WIU, what does that mean? What that means, to me personally, is that we are, if you believe in equity, you believe in social justice, you believe in accessibility, and you believe fundamentally in the purpose and in a place like WIU. Because that's what we are, right? We provide accessibility to higher education for this region, which is not the wealthiest region in the country, right? And if we go away or are in any way impaired, that fundamentally is leading to less accessibility, less equity, and less social justice for the region that we're in, the place where we live. So in every possible way, WIU, Macomb and the Quad Cities, the institution and the communities, the region, we're all in this together. It's one single mission, and that is, again, to provide quality, excellent educational opportunities and experiences for our students. So Heather's again, I can't top what Heather just said, because it illustrates everything I was just trying to say, right? Heather
I need a
arrived
raise.
Heather arrived at the campus, right? And what did she receive? She received support, right? She wasn't the wealthiest kid on this campus or wherever, right? And yet she got a quality education because the people here care deeply about our students. We transform lives at this institution, and that again is the whole point. And so if you believe in that, then you believe in Western, and that's fundamentally who we are. And that's all I have to say. So thank you. I'm sorry I have to leave.
Thank you so much.
This is, like I said, a united community. That united community includes our students, the employees of the institution, and the broader community that lives throughout Western Illinois University. We just heard Mark talk about the mission of the institution. We heard Heather talk about her experience at the institution. Now we're going to hear from one of our students at Western Illinois University. Elizabeth Swan, you're up. Surprise. Elizabeth is a senior at Western Illinois University. She's also an RA in Housing and Dining Services and the president of the Associate Studies Students of History. So guess what her major is? History. And guess what she wants to be?
A teacher.
A teacher. Let's hear it for Elizabeth Swan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Coming to Western for me was a really amazing experience. I came from the south suburbs of Chicago, a place where you can go to 10 different stores at 2 a.m. versus here in Macomb, you're lucky you can go to Walmart, although that is a party. It's totally different out here. The amount of opportunities people have for employment, for what they want to do is so much different because it's a smaller community. And even living here over the summer, I worked at JCPenney in JCPenney's final days. I was there on that final July day. You kind of can feel the ripples so much more here. You see the people around you. You see them over and over again. There are fewer faces, and that makes it hard. Today, I'm currently in my block teaching experience for the teaching education, and as we were driving to Hamilton this morning, one of my fellow students said that she and her roommate had been talking about what these faculty losses are going to feel like. You know, we at Western, we're really lucky that we have a small community, that we have fewer faculty members, fewer students in classes, so you really grow close with them. Mm-hmm. The thought that I could be losing some of the really close associates that I've met in my department who have helped me grow educationally and definitely as a person. I think that there's so much bond that we as students have, and not only will these be losses of faculty, but they'll be losses of people who are our friends and people who help us grow, and so to an extent who protect us and bring us, into this community and lead us to the resources we need as students. Working in housing and dining as an RA, I also kind of feel that sense that there are people below me who rely on me. I can't imagine what it feels like to be in the classroom every day, teaching your material, trying to show everyone these skills that they will need for later in life and bring this education to them, knowing that that might be the last day you see them in class, knowing this might be the last year you're in your office, and you're going to have to start giving away your picture frames and everything like that. I'm really happy that I'm here at Western Illinois University. I would never choose a different university.
Woo!
Yeah. I love being Leatherneck. I believed purple and gold as how we are marching on. I know the whole song I had to for my position, but next year when I go for my student teaching, it's going to be hard coming back because I feel like so much will be lost. So that's what the value of our community is. We hold strong the values that Western represents, what it means to be Leathernecks, what it means to be, citizens of Macomb. And it's within all of us that will live on the great legacy of our university. And I thank everyone here for believing in what Western can continue to be, even with these losses. Thank you.
So we're going to have to do something now. I need you to help me. There's going to be a moment tonight where we're going to ask you to take your phones out. Does everybody have their phones with you? Take your phones out, please. My folks in the back, can you grab those sheets out? Pass them out, please. We need everybody to stand up and take a selfie behind you. Those in the back rows, take a selfie this way to show that we are indeed united. Can you stand up and take a selfie of everybody, please? Take a picture of yourself standing here together tonight. If you don't have a phone, put your arms around each other and let's get some big pictures.
Hi, William.
Hello,
It's true. It's true. This is.
We're going to push these out and show people that WIU stands united.
because you know, Western United will never be divided.
Western United will never be divided. Western United will never be divided. Western United will never be divided.
Western United will never be divided. We need you now to take those pictures. If you have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, an Instagram page, we need you to text that out or email it out, Facebook it out,
Can you
Twitter
imagine
it out to your friends.
emailing selfies to other people I know? The entire selfie
WIU, that's B, capital P-U-Y, capital I-N-T-O, WIU. That's the hashtag that we are using. Buy into WIU. We need that message out there today, encouraging our friends and our colleagues to sign that petition, because we are now at about 3,900 signatures, and we're not allowed to leave this room tonight until we hit 4,000 online. So we're counting on you to get 4,000 signatures. 3920. We're 80 short. We need you to get us over that
4,000.
80 more. We heard from one of our civil servants. We heard from the university. We've heard from a great student, and now we get to hear from a long-time resident who has worked very hard, raised his family here. I heard that his family moved back here in the 1860s. That's how long of a resident he is.
Woo!
And the reason why I want to introduce him tonight is because in this room, we are honored to have a whole group of folks and a community that's divided, or not divided, that's united to work together for Western Illinois. If you haven't walked around town and gone to our stores, we are being and have support for our petitions at The Study, the Macomb Co-op, Free Range Yoga and Community Wellness Center, New Copperfield Book Services, Sullivan Taylor's Coffee Center, A Boy and His Tiger, the Nail Salon, Old Dairy, Pernace's Antiques and Curios, Nostalgia, The Computer Source, Counseling and Cares, Family Video, the Macomb Library, the Bird's Nest Night and more, Knit and more, Barnyard Guitars, Posse African Hair Braiding, Algra Marketing and Print Mailing, Express Nail Salon, Vitali, Sunrise Family and Restaurant. These are just small organizations that are committed to our institution because they have bought into it. I want to introduce to you a very good friend of ours. I think many of you know him, and that's Mr. Scott Jones of Industry. He is a proud parent of 2 WIU grads and the former owner of the Midwest Grain and Feed. Scott.
I'm not very good at this, so just have to bear with me. As John said, my family moved to south of Industry in the 1860s. My great-grandmother could recall the guns of the Civil War. We've been in Industry all that time, and we currently are there now. My wife and I both graduated from Industry High School. My parents have run a grain and feed business in Industry for 30 years. My grandparents, my grandfather was a dentist in Industry. So the roots are deep, and this is my community. And for being my community, Western Illinois University has always been an integral part of my life, of my family's life. My mother went to Western Illinois University back in the early 40s, prior to the Second World War. She ended up clerking at the Camp Ellis, at the hospital place in Camp Ellis. But anyway, and then I had, as the gentleman said, I have a daughter that graduated from Western. She's currently the pathologist at the hospital here, local hospital. My son graduated from Western. He's currently got his master's degree from the University of Missouri. He's currently an agronomist for Pioneer. He's been with them for 19 years. And then our youngest son he came from Spoon. He's currently employed as a lineman in California. Needless to say, he's working on the fires and at $130 an hour. I said, Gabriel, my gosh. My first job when I worked at the hospital, I made $4.65 an hour. So anyway, with that being said, it's extremely important. And some of my experience has been back in the 80s, mid-80s, in 1985. I don't know if any of you can remember when Governor Jim Thompson tried to close the schools, the rural schools. Anything with a K through 12 enrollment of less than 900 would be consolidated. So I befriended a gentleman by the name of Jim Nolan and Dr. Norm Walzer, who was currently, or has been at WIU. And we started a group called Voice of the Prairie. And we finagled and we ran, we went and we talked and we did everything we possibly could. So it just so happened that Governor Thompson came to the high school gymnasium and industry and announced in '86, prior to the election, that he was rescinding his executive order and that they would not go through with that. But that was only because of the pressure that we exerted on the powers that be.
Woo!
And I think that the genesis and the origins of that, and this is a phrase that we don't even think about, but it's the basis of all of our culture and our society. We the people.
That's right.
That's where the power is. And I tell people that democracy is a participatory style of government. You have to participate. And if we don't, then the onus is on us for not participating. Just within the last 10 years, we lost our school and industry. And the reason that happened was the citizenry set by did not get involved until the latter part of the discussion, and we lost our school. And one of my opponents, I was a proponent of keeping the school and industry and eventually moving to Macomb. But one of my opponents came up to me, and I'd known Larry for all my life, and he kind of put his arm around me. He said, Scott, he said, there's one thing I want you to know. He said, the world is run by those who show up.
Yeah.
And I thought, touche. If I learned anything from that negative experience is that one has to participate. And you have to make your feelings known. Now, some people don't appreciate it. That's their problem, not mine. At least I know that I'm doing my share. So I really salute you folks for doing this. This is something that sorely needs to be done. And you are an integral part of the community. And this is a tremendous place to live. And we're so lucky that our youngest son lives in Knoxville, that our other two children live here in Macomb. And we feel so fortunate that they have chosen this as a place to live. And a lot of it is because of WIU. I'm currently been involved in agriculture, and there is no better agricultural school in the entire state. And trust me, I know this because I've rubbed shoulders with them all than WIU. Dr. Bernard, Dr. Joel Gruber. Currently, the agriculture is going through a transition phase in terms of trying to treat agriculture as an ecosystem service. Instead of exploiting the ecosystem, we're trying to encourage farmers to work with the ecosystem instead of exploiting it. And Western, through Dr. Bernard and Dr. Gruber, are two of the most recognized experts throughout the state And that would be the last thing that a farming community needs, is to lose its center of expertise. And I encourage you to do anything you possibly can. I've got 1,000 things going through my mind right now. The Institute of Rural Affairs was an offshoot of our efforts back in 1986. Senator Laura Kent Donahue and I met with the president at the time, and a gentleman by the name of Zach Stamp, who was a WIU alumnus. He's the one that twisted Governor Thompson's arm and got it to be. But you have a tremendous resource with the Illinois Institute of Rural Affairs. Twist their arm, have them get busy and bring in the data that we need to make this thing happen. So again, thank you for the invitation, and good luck, and you can make it happen, you really can.
Woo!
Our Washington residents, our business owners, Macomb, the region, Quad Cities, Rock Island, it's a very unique group. We're not just businesses, we're not just students, we're not just faculty, we're not just employees of an institution. We work together, we live together, we breathe together as one community. And that means that we also have some amazing community organizations that are working with us to make us a better community. And it's my great honor to introduce our next speaker, and that's Byron Oden-Shabazz. Byron, you want to come up? Byron is the current president of the NAACP Home. Byron?
I work with his daughter at JCPenney. Oh, yeah.
Good evening. Good evening. As he said, my name is Byron Oden-Shabazz, and I am the president of the. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'm short, so. I'm the new president of the county NAACP. There's so much that I really wanted to talk about, but this kind of takes a different turn because I have some very strong feelings about the way some things have happened at the university. But let me give you a few scenarios, situations I've had at the university, why Western means something very specific to me. When I came to Western, I came here because my wife took a job as a professor. She's now the Associate Dean of the College of Education. And I'll never forget, a friend of ours owns a big reggae club in Chicago, so what we did is I said, okay, we'll fly to Chicago, hang out with her for a day or two, and then we'll drive down here. And I'll never forget this. We were coming through, and about 2 or 3 times, I just kept looking at her like this. Where are we going? And so the closer we got, I'm still looking like, and I don't think we were right there at that, going through Monmouth, where 67 is. And I said, father died young. I lived in a housing project. I figured out a way to get a major, D1 scholarship to college. Never had to pay a dime, and I worked hard. We lived in a very prominent neighborhood. It was the #1 school district in the state, and we were one of the few that lived there because for me, when people ask, why did you move there? As black as you say you are, you believe in this. I said, when it comes to education, I don't care who's in the building. If my children have an opportunity, it doesn't make a difference. I can fix all this other stuff at home. So we come, and I'm looking around, and I'm trying to feel myself out. And one of the things that I've always, I learned to do, I should say, and that I pride myself on, wherever I am, I make it my community, right? And Macomb opened that door to me. When I came here, I immediately got involved with some people that was running a youth group, and that was my specialty. My background was in juvenile and social services. And I'd gotten so sick of, coming to work every day with boys sitting on the bench waiting to see me like this. I said, I don't want to go back in the system. I want to do something different. And when I got married, I gave up my scholarship, got married, we had children, and blah, blah, blah. She went and got a PhD. And so when I got here, I wanted to do 2 things, definitely. I wanted to get involved in the community and finish my education. Which brings me to where I am. Today I received a text message. And this is what makes my experience as a person not in the dominant number at Western, how significant it is. I get a text from a student that I mentored when he was here. He was department scholar, graduate of a 3.9 grade average, and he was talking about going back on to Chicago. I said, oh no, no, I'm not doing that. And he's like, well, I need some money. I said, look, just let me work on something for you. And so when he comes back to me near graduation, he said, I said, so, you know, who helped you at the university, you know, find a grad school? And he said, nobody helped me. And so I'm stunned, like, you have a 3.9. Surely somebody helped you to go to grad school. He said, no. So I got on the phone, and I called one of my friends at Illinois State. I said, look, I know it's late, but I have a student that I mentor, 3.9, department scholar, great kid, great. She said, well, actually everything closed yesterday. But she said, you know, for you, I will, we'll talk to him and just see what we come up with. Well, I get a phone call back from him a week or two later. He's like, thank you, thank you. And I said, what? He said, yeah, they gave me a full ride. I'm going to grad school.
Oh, yeah.
And so I said, well, so great. So the whole time we talk a couple times a week. He's struggling in class. He's just going through whatever, trying to figure himself out. And so graduated, and I encouraged him, you know, go ahead and go get the PhD, man. You know, keep going. And what ultimately happened is I get another phone call. He said, you won't believe this. I'm like, what? He said, you know, I went on an interview and I was really unsure, you know, but you know, Western really prepared me. I was really surprised. And I said, why? He said, man, the University of Kentucky just picked me up to run their men's basketball facility, where the team lives. And so he's a guy from Western that he thought nobody cared about, couldn't get any help. And just from a phone call from me communicating with some people. And the reason that's so significant, well, let me finish that. I got a text today from him. And I'm looking at the phone, and he's, you know, his text says, you know, brother, thank you so much. You know, you have been a great mentor. He said, you won't believe this. I'm at a conference in Florida, and I pretty much presented on you today, talking about the reason all of that is significant is it's ironic because two of the people I was going to mention are sitting in this room. Dr. Sadler, while he was dean, he would always, you know, stop by. I was running a program for African American males, and he would always stop by. He helped me get started. And one day, I don't know what happened, but he discovered that I needed a couple of classes to graduate. I hadn't graduated. I said, you know, I'll finish. So he called me to his office, and he's like, what's going on, man? I said, what? What do you mean? He was like, why haven't you graduated? I want you in grad school. Smart as you are, you should be in graduate school. And I said, you know, okay, I'll do it. Ron Pettigrew. He literally calls me, walks me down. He calls Ron, walks me to Ron's office, and like basically saying, nobody's leaving this room until his stuff is straightened out to graduate. I finished the classes and, you know, I graduated, you know, and in the meantime, while I'm being helped, I'm helping other young men that was from my experience. And of those students that I worked with, 7 of them went into national mentorship programs, working with students. The group I started was called Sacred Circle. And it was a way to give them space and time and a voice to talk about their experiences at Western. Western is a great school, but everything isn't always inclusive because they're not a part of the dominant number, so they bring a very different culture. And if you see that, you can read that wrong. Well, I was reading where they were coming from because I had been one of those people. And so I created a space to bring these students up close. And 2 times, I had weekend events, and there was a snowstorm. It happened twice, and I had like more than 30-some students show up. And so people would ask me, like, what are you doing with these students that they're coming to you voluntarily? And I said, you know, I talk a lot, but I listen even better. Because everybody has a story. And my time at Western, you know, I've had a chance to meet people and hear their stories and develop relationships. And that's what Western has been, that I really do not want to see us lose. We all have these stories, we've all had these different opportunities, but we have to learn to communicate them better. And more so, I believe in that village concept. There's people now that I can call. I have no direct relationship with. I didn't have any direct relationship with. Just met and became friends. I've called John in struggles. I talked to Heather. I called Dr. Rutledge, Dr. Sutton. There's people in this community that you never really feel it. You don't feel alone because there's people here that you develop these relationships with you're not even with every day. But you can call them and say, hey, you know, I've had family come here, and this was so funny to me. My parents came for graduation, and my father, he had gotten up kind of late, he was walking around, and I said, you know, I get up, and so I waited, he went back to sleep, and so in the morning I said, I was cooking breakfast. I said, Dad, you know, like, what was the deal? He said, I cannot believe how quiet it is. I couldn't sleep because it was so quiet. And it was so funny, my brother-in-law, I've had 2 or 3 people stay in my house and all say the same thing. And then this is funny because my father is the, you know, he was literally, my stepfather, he literally, you know, back then in Detroit, you could literally, the end of your junior year, going into your senior year, you can go to the advisor and tell them you're not going to the military, you're not going to college, and literally, you could get a slip for GM, Ford, Chrysler, and literally go from high school. He said he graduated, he got his physical, and he was working the next week at Ford. So, you know, he's very observant. Blue collar, hard working, regular guy. Gave my mother what she wanted. As long as he had a truck, he didn't care. It was good, you know. Whatever clothes she bought him, it was all fine. And he was looking around Macomb, and you know, my friends would always make jokes. You haven't left Hooterville yet. Why you keep staying there? You know, I said, you know, man, it's something to be said for a place that I have literally left home and the garage door is up, and I didn't even panic. I mean, literally, like, I know it's okay. I'm not saying people can't break into your house, but there's something about living in a community where you're not panicked about things, right? Once we had this raccoon, before we lived in the house, I guess this raccoon had figured its way into the fireplace. And so when we moved in, you know, you could hear him stirring, and one day he got in, and you know, whatever, I don't know what I did, but he went out, and somehow he was on the back, we got a ledge, and he hit something and it set the alarm off. And so I was at work, and the guy that actually sold us the house, he worked in the department with my wife. And so he comes and finds me, he says, hey, you know, the alarm, what's the passcode? Something's happened at your house. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, here it is. So he goes, he comes back. And so I get home, and my neighbors, you know, literally come to my house like, what happened? You know, we saw the police with their guns drawn and all that. And so my friends are like, was I afraid? I'm thinking, I'm from Detroit. I'm more than happy to see that, right? So while saying all that to say, while people take Western, well, if they can't keep these people, they just gotta get rid of them. Or it doesn't matter if it goes away. I'm like, you don't understand the community that we have here. See, I can say we, right? Because in Macomb, at Western, we have a community. How many universities can somebody tell you a story where the dean of the college and an advisor literally find you and like, you need to graduate by this time. If you need help, you call me. And here are the things you need to do. Ron Pettigrew would probably email me every day. You do this, right? But see, that's the experience you can have at Western. That Western has offered many people. I know so many students came here from Chicago, right? Yep. Seriously. And would tell you, I couldn't have graduated anybody else because people like Miss Carr, right, kept me strong. People like Dr. Rutledge, who I talked to. So for those of us that are not in that majority, there's a space that we get to have uninterrupted to be successful. And for me, the college experience, that's very, very important, right? So my hope is that, in here, my hope is this. In spite of what's happening, we stay a community, right? We communicate between this, because we'll get through this if we stay together. If we go out in different directions and it all happens, one doesn't know what the other one's doing, right? But if we communicate, I mean, that village model, that those friends that we have at the university, both my wife and I will have cuts coming to us, right? Right. But I know that I still have food in my house, and if one of my friends doesn't have gas money, I'll gladly say here. because we're from the same space, right? But that's the way we need to continue, and more importantly, it's that kind of mental and spiritual health we have to check on each other with in the village. Now, it's not just about money, because a lot of people be okay, but it's that mind and that heart that you have to call somebody and say, how you doing? How are you handling this? Because I walked around the campus this whole week. When I say stressed out, when you see people, when you clearly look at somebody that you know and you can tell something wrong, but you know they're not ready to talk about it, I've seen a lot of that this week, right? So one of the things that I ask that we do for each other is check on each other. How you doing? How's it going? You know, let's host events to just get together if it's a potluck and just bring people into a space so that we take care of each other, because that's the way that you get through trauma. Because believe it or not, this is traumatic for some people.
Yeah.
Right.
You understand? But the one thing that we all can do is be there for each other. And I think the friendships that we've all developed here at Western calls for that. That's why I mentor, right? That's why I try to stay involved in the community. That's why I brought the NAACP back. All of that is because I believe in this community. This community, I can understand, has been good to me. And I try to give it right back. So with that, I'll close. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Woo!
We are
WIU! We are WIU! We are WIU!
We are
WIU!
We are WIU! We are WIU!
So, this institution, this community is built upon the shoulders of others. We have a committee that I like to refer to now as the Committee of the Wise, the Committee of the 10, the retirees of Western Illinois University. This is a group of retirees from the institution who came together, joined together to try to fight and help this institution grow, to come up with new ideas, to share their experiences because of their commitment. And with that in mind, I'd like to introduce Paula Wise, who will speak for a few minutes about their organization, their ideas, and how we together can move forward.
Woo-hoo!
Way down.
There you go.
Okay, I'm Paula Wise. I know many of you. Retired faculty member, taught in the psychology department for 31 years. We've lived now in Macomb for over 40 years. My husband and I came here as both hired as new assistant professors in 1977. At the time we were offered, I think, $12,500 per year. And they said they were going to penalize us $500 if we didn't finish our dissertations right away, but $12,000 was more than we had been making. I, as a school psychologist, or Dan working on his dissertation, so what if you're going to penalize? All right. I too had always lived in urban areas, had grown up in Cleveland, went to school, undergrad Cincinnati, graduate school in Columbus, and was surprised at Macomb when I first moved here. But as a young woman in town at Verizon told me the other day, she thinks Western and Macomb were a great place to start her adult life. And I think that's really a good way of thinking about it, that it's a good place for people to come into their own, to go to school, to learn about themselves and the world. Our group, Retirees for Western, grew out of concern that we all had about what was going on at Western. This didn't seem to be the happy place where we had worked. I mean, I'm sure we embellish it in our minds, but it just has been having a lot of problems recently. And so we got together, formed a small group. There are a lot more retirees who are concerned about Western, but we wanted a manageable group so we could meet with a variety of people. We've met with Jack Thomas, Ron Williams, we've met with the admissions people, we have met with faculty, We've met with the College of Education because we believe that if we could build up our teacher ed program, it would really help enrollment. And it would fill community needs, especially in rural areas. At first, I think when we formed, we thought, well, we would be sort of a support group, sort of cheerleaders for Western. We would share the positive things on Facebook that came out about Western. We would, wear WIU t-shirts when we traveled so that people would ask us, and I just had an experience about that. We were just traveling last week and I was wearing a WIU t-shirt in Cuba and 2 people came up to me and said, we both graduated from Western and we loved it there.
Did they sign the petition?
I said, alums are going to be hearing from them.
Yeah.
So they said, we're happy to do that. But we all care about Western, we care about faculty, we care about civil service, we care, even administrators, we care about, most. And as we met with groups of people, it came to us that it wasn't just admissions and enrollment that we had to be concerned with, but it was also morale. And we became very concerned about the morale and the things that were being said by different groups about each other. And it seemed like, the budgetary problems that we've had ideally would be bringing us together, but instead they seem to be forming factions. We know times have changed, but WIU still has many fine programs. We've really been talking about all those programs and, the wonderful things going on. You see them on Facebook, people getting awards. And there are still many fine faculty and staff. And as I said, we have tried to focus on admission, and we've developed lists of things and we have presented them to Jack Thomas and to Ron Williams and Jason, I can't remember. Jason Woods, and we're hoping to be involved with the admissions recruiting because we're really concerned about enrollment. We think, if enrollment would build, I know the whole system is interrelated, but if enrollment would build, it would be such a boost for the community. So we're worried about admissions, we're worried about enrollment, we're worried about morale, and we're meeting with the mayor, we're meeting with a variety of constituents. We've met with John, and we're worried about the Board of Trustees. We want to make sure that we have a good Board of Trustees, a group that cares about us, and we will continue to work and go Western.
Once a Leatherneck, always a Leatherneck.
Yes.
We work hard, we fight hard, we want our institution to survive, and we do that for people like the next speaker that we have. A young student who has proven himself over and over again. His name is Michael Cross. Mike, can you come on up? These 2 students are both student leaders. They formed B-Man. They're out of the liberal arts. And we wanted to bring them here to highlight what it is that we're fighting for, why we are devoted to our students and to our institution, and what makes this campus and what makes this university so unique.
Woo.
Good evening. My name is Michael Cross.
You guys stand up there.
And my name is Lamar Hudson. We're both seniors here at Western Illinois University. As he said, out of the Liberal Arts and Sciences Department. We actually have the same concentration: psychology, African American studies, and communication.
All right.
We're both a part of the integrated program for that as well. So we're both currently taking graduate courses as well, hoping to finish next spring with both of our degrees. So please pray for us on that. But as for why we're up here, we are both products of 2 students, obviously coming out of the Chicagoland area, who have been very blessed and very fortunate to come to Western and to make so many great connections and meet so many wonderful people. And in the midst of all the changes that have been taking place, I think it has still been good for us to still make those connections, especially younger students. However, it has been much more difficult. As he said, we're a part of BMAN, which is an acronym for the Black Male Achievement Network on campus. It has been going for about 4 years now. We're about 35 solid members that come every week. They're actually meeting right now. I was told we have to be here tonight. So they understand. I told them we'll make sure we're back next time. But it's a great organization, really about just mentorship and networking and growing connections, giving the students leadership opportunities to put on workshops, to learn how to mentor other, again, younger students coming in. I'm also, Lamar's a resident assistant in the upperclassmen halls, and I'm a senior resident assistant in the freshman residence halls. And previous young lady was talking about morale, and I feel that is something that has definitely been going down a little bit, and it's been harder to get students to want to return to Western due to the instability I feel that has taken place. And it's not their fault. We don't know necessarily. I don't want to place the blame on anybody, but in the midst of that, I think it's very important for the students to still feel supported and encouraged by faculty and staff and so forth. So many feel like, I don't know, a lot of them have a question mark, like as if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, if they're doing the right thing, if anybody's recognizing and seeing them. They feel that they're working so hard, and now things that are close to them are closing with the residence halls, professors who they've grown close to and who've been helping them. Now they're no longer with us, so a lot of them feel a little discouraged. Not everybody has the support I feel that me and LA have been fortunate to have in these last 3 or 4 years for us here. So I think the community aspect that Brother Byron was speaking of is very important. Again, as we walk around this community, going to the stores and various classrooms, and it's not a lot of people that look like us. That's the reality. Me and him happen to be comfortable with. And we have learned how to adjust very well, but that's not the reality of everybody. Some people, again, this is their first time in an environment like this, and they're on the highways coming down like, where in the heck are we going? And we just ask for patience, I think, and help us to adjust and to I guess just help us. Don't necessarily take our ignorance as disrespect or anything like that. It's just, again, some people just came up differently and just have been exposed to different things. But all in all, I still love Western. I would still recommend it to any young student that wants to come here. I think it is a great place to learn. The quality of education that I've received and the personal care that I have gotten from almost every single one of my professors has been top notch. My work ethic has grown to be something that I didn't think it would be. I was that high school student that used to barely studied and got all A's. Now that I realized quickly that wasn't a reality. I was gonna have to work for it. Fortunately, I was able to pick up on that sooner rather than later, and I'm just so grateful again for the immense support that we have, for Brother Byron reaching out to us again, not even being a professor, but seeing young students like LA and myself and so many others of all races on campus, and really reaching out that helping hand, and helping those to get to where we need to be and where we desire to be. And that's just very important. So again, I think the community aspect is very pivotal and something that we need to continue to do in order to uplift going forward and help the young students adjust, and to give them some kind of reassurance in the midst of all this instability at times, and let them know that this is still a place where they can grow, they can learn, they can develop going forward. Ellie, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
So usually, I'm not a fan of talking about myself, but in order for me to, I guess, properly express myself in this particular forum, I'll kind of go over a little bit of my life journey, starting from my junior year of college up until my entry here at Western. So when I was applying for schools here for colleges, Now, notably, I came from an all-black high school. I went to an all-black elementary school, junior high school. So that was my experience up until this point. And when I was a junior or senior in college, I was just, I just wanted to get into college. It didn't really matter where I went. I just wanted to at least get my foot in the door. And I saw Western. And then when I looked at the location, it said Macomb, Illinois. I was like, Macomb, Illinois, like, what's this? So I remember moving day, we came in, and we finally hit the Welcome to Western. I was like, okay, this is gonna be nice. They got a little purple billboard and everything. And then I see the country, and I'm like, what did I get myself into? Oh, I'm coming from this urban environment, and now I'm placing myself, particularly with a bunch of people that I've never really had an experience before. And the media, the media plays a powerful role in what we believe, whether we like to admit it or not. It goes into our already biases that we have, our prejudices, and we already have. So coming to a city where seeing the majority of kids that are at this college are different than me, I was shell-shocked. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to, what type of experience I was going to receive. And in the past couple of years, I'd say there's a difference between individualism and collectivism. And the reason those are distinctive, because when you have a personal relationship with individuals, you get to see the humanity that is within all of us. Collectively, society still has its issues, but I believe the power of individualism can potentially help the societal problems in which we all go through. The second point I wanted to talk about was having the power of having people reach out to you. So my second semester here at Western, my second sophomore year at Western, I was a psychology major. And at the time when I declared that as my major, I kind of knew it wasn't going to be my life purpose. I kind of figured it wasn't what I was going to be doing. It was kind of just there, just to have it. I was kind of like aimlessly going through, the process of being here in college. So one day somebody told me, hey, come out to Dr. Simpson's presentation about liberal arts and science. So I was like, why not? And then after listening to him, hearing the prospect of having two other minors, because psychology was my major and communication was my minor. And then knowing the fact that I had a love for African American studies and hearing the fact that I can combine those three together, I was like, the possibility is endless. But it wouldn't have been without him having reached out to me and telling me to come to his lecture, that I wouldn't have been in a position where I am today to be a part of the integrated program. Because at first I wasn't thinking about getting my master's degree after I graduated, because I said to myself, I've already did 4 years of college. I'm tired of staying up, 3 o'clock in the morning, studying for tests, stuff that I'm probably never going to ever use. But hearing that opportunity present itself, it showcases the power of, because people don't believe, because some people, they try to say, well, some people do this and I do this, people just do whatever. But it takes not only courage, but it speaks to the importance of those who don't know how to either reach out, or they have been so distant in society that society looks down upon them, and they don't see the power that they can have in reaching out to those that might learn or might need something. Because I believe everybody is born with a sense of purpose when the day they're born. And some people, they go through so much trauma and hardships in life that they might not feel that way. But when you have the power, just like Brother Byron, he didn't have to take me under his wing, but he did. He didn't have to do that. I didn't even ask him. He took it upon himself. But I appreciate it 100%, because without him, I don't know how my mindset would be up until this point. So I just want to say for those of you in the room that might not believe in the power of reaching out to others, or is thinking if you do reach out to them, even if they don't reach the message, I believe it is still your duty for you to go out there and try to reach out to someone who you see is having trouble, or who comes from a situation to where they think so down about either themselves or just the situations around them that, you know, they feel like there's no hope, but it is hope. It's just we gotta have the hope in each other to believe that that can be, you know, possible. And that's all I gotta say.
That's a very important message for us to remember tomorrow. We need to be reaching out to all of our friends, to all of our colleagues. It doesn't matter whether or not you're personally and directly impacted, someone you know is impacted. And today in this room we've had heard a lot of folks talk about the power of Western, the importance of Western, and we also have had here folks who wanted to come to learn more. We have a county board member, Paul Trimmer. Melanie Foth from the city clerks was here earlier. We also had Jill Tracy's assistant, Senator Jill Tracy's assistant, she's still here, thank you. Representative Hammond, both of them are in Springfield still today. And we got a message today from the comptroller. Our petition is working. It's getting attention. And Susanna Mendoza sent a message to us to read tonight because she was not able to come here, wanted to come here. And so, Heather, would you please read that message?
This is a statement from the comptroller. The 736-day budget impasse was devastating to our public universities and community colleges. It will take them years to recover from the damage that was done. Illinois continues to face unprecedented fiscal challenges, but to the extent possible, given the state's budget realities, Illinois must invest in our public higher education system to ensure a healthy and vibrant future for our state. Our universities are drivers of local economies in communities like Macomb. As comptroller, I visited your beautiful campus and witnessed firsthand how important WIU is to the entire region. If the state does not support higher education, Illinois will continue to lose students to other states, and many will never return. As we work to bring WIU Illinois back from the brink of fiscal calamity, my office will continue to prioritize education. I would also urge the governor and state legislators to recognize and value the important role our universities and community colleges play in our state's economy, workforce, and recovery. Thank you for advocating for your university and for your community, of which I stand in strong support. Regards, Susanna Mendoza.